Hello and welcome to Mr. Sleepy Science. I'm really happy you're here. Perhaps you've had a long day, or maybe you're someone who finds comfort falling asleep while thinking about ancient life and deep time rather than counting sheep. Whatever brought you here, tonight's exploration is made for you. There's nothing for you to do now except relax. Let your breathing ease, your mind soften, and your body sink down as though it's always been part of the earth. Tonight, we're traveling gently through the history of life, not in any neat line, but more like a sprawling, tangled tree. A history written not with words, but with fossils, feathers, and old genes tucked away inside your cells. From jellyfish that can reverse their aging to birds that still hold the traces of dinosaurs, evolution surrounds us, even within you. We'll move at a slow, peaceful pace, one peculiar fact at a time. Before we dive in, if these calm journeys help you relax or offer a gentle way to close your day, think about tapping that like button and subscribing. It helps other sleepy souls find this place too, one person at a time. All right, let's get started. Human embryos have tails for a short time. In the first few weeks of human growth, a small tail grows from the bottom of the embryo's spine, a faint echo of our evolutionary roots. This tail is built from vertebrae and contains muscles and nerves. It starts forming around day 28 and reaches its longest point about a week later. Then, in most cases, the body absorbs it back, leaving behind what we call the tailbone or coccyx. Every now and then, babies are born with tiny tails still visible, a rare but intriguing window into our past. It's a soft reminder that we once had a body plan shared with creatures that needed tails for balance, climbing, or moving through water. You carry more bacterial genes than human ones. Inside your body are roughly 20,000 human genes, but the bacteria living in and on you hold millions more. These microbes aren't freeloaders. They help break down your food, support your immune system, and can even affect your mood and actions. Most of them live in your gut, forming what scientists call the microbiome, an ecosystem that's been evolving alongside humans for millions of years. Some bacteria pass down through families, inherited like your DNA. Others come from the food you eat, the dirt you touch, and the people around you. You aren't just one organism. You're a living, thinking mix, part human, part microbial, fully shaped by evolutionary time. Eyeless cave fish still begin to grow eyes before reabsorbing them. In the dark, quiet waters of underground caves, certain fish have completely lost their eyes. But here's the twist. Their embryos still start to form them. Tiny eye structures develop just like they do in their sighted cousins. Then the process halts. The cells start breaking down and the tissue gets absorbed. This is called regressive evolution, and it shows how evolution removes things that no longer serve a purpose. It's usually easier to turn something off than to rebuild it completely. Even without sight, these cave fish still carry the faint blueprint of eyes, a trace of light that once helped their ancestors. Whales still have pelvis bones hidden inside. Whales carry faint hints of the legs they once had. Tucked deep in the tissue near their hips are tiny pelvic bones, no longer attached to limbs, but still there. These bones once held up walking legs in their land-living ancestors. Over millions of years, as they adapted to life in the water, the bones shrank and lost their purpose. Still, evolution rarely erases things entirely. It reshapes, adjusts, or just lets things linger. The leftover pelvis in whales is a quiet fossil of sorts, a piece of a body that once walked, now gliding through the sea. Giraffe's neck only has 7 vertebrae. The giraffe's neck, even though it's incredibly long, is made from the same number of vertebrae as most mammals, just 7. Each one has simply grown and stretched over time, creating the tall structure that lets giraffes reach high branches or fight with their necks in displays of strength. This limit, the 7-bone structure, shows how evolution usually adjusts what's already there instead of inventing something brand new. A longer neck didn't come from adding bones. It came from stretching the ones that were already present. Even the biggest changes often start with small tweaks to familiar designs. Dolphins and bats both evolved echolocation on their own. Echolocation, the skill of seeing with sound, evolved separately in dolphins and bats, 2 animals split by millions of years and totally different worlds. Dolphins rely on sonar to move through murky water. Bats use sharp squeaks to hunt bugs in the dark. Despite their differences, both developed similar genetic changes in their hearing and sound-making systems. This is a clear case of convergent evolution, when unrelated species face similar challenges and follow the same path. Sound became a way to cut through darkness. 2 answers created twice in complete isolation. Flight evolved more than once. The sky is filled with winged creatures, but they didn't all get their wings the same way. Birds, bats, and insects each developed flight on their own. Even pterosaurs, the extinct flying reptiles, had wings built differently from modern birds. In every case, evolution used what was available: an arm, a membrane, some scales, and transformed it into something that could lift an animal into the air. These repeated inventions of flight remind us that evolution isn't linear. It's a mix of trial, error, and opportunity. And sometimes it takes off in 4 completely different ways. Humans and bananas share a surprising amount of DNA. It may sound odd, but humans and bananas have about 60% of their DNA in common. That's because a lot of the genetic instructions across all life on Earth come from the same ancient toolkit. Genes that handle basic tasks like copying DNA, breaking down sugars, or building proteins are so essential they've been passed down for billions of years. The differences come from how those genes are organized, turned on, and adjusted. You're obviously not a banana, but at the molecular level, you're both running variations of the same very old code. Some lizards reproduce without needing males. In certain lizard species, females have developed the ability to reproduce completely on their own. This process, called parthenogenesis, lets a single female create offspring that are genetic copies of herself. It's uncommon among vertebrates, but in some desert lizards, it's the standard. While this limits genetic variety, it has benefits. One individual can start a new population. No partner needed. It's a powerful example of how evolution can reshape reproduction in unexpected ways, especially in tough or isolated places where mates are hard to find. Every living thing on Earth comes from the same ancestor. Every plant, every animal, every fungus and microbe that has ever existed on this planet, from whales to trees to the bacteria in your gut, belongs to the same continuous tree of life. If you followed the branches back far enough, past extinctions and shifting continents, you'd reach a single ancient cell. It lived more than 3.5 billion years ago in a world with no oxygen, long before the first fish or fern. Its genetic material survives in every creature today. You're not just linked to your parents and grandparents, but to mushrooms, coral, and even pond scum. All cousins in one vast, ancient family. Whales came from four-legged land animals. Long before they swam in oceans, whale ancestors walked on land. They had hooves, long snouts, and limbs made for wading through shallow rivers. Over tens of millions of years, their descendants slowly became more aquatic. Their legs got shorter, their tails widened, and their nostrils moved toward the tops of their heads. Fossils like Pachycetus and Ambulocetus capture this shift beautifully. Animals with both land-walking limbs and ear bones built for hearing underwater. Today's whales still carry the hidden legacy of that transformation, with tiny leftover hip bones buried deep in their flesh. What started as a four-legged forager became the largest animal the world has ever known. Birds are living descendants of dinosaurs. Next time you see a sparrow or a crow, try imagining it as a tiny feathered dinosaur, because that's exactly what it is. Modern birds evolved from a group of small, swift, feathered theropods, the same family that includes Velociraptor and Tyrannosaurus rex. These ancient creatures already had hollow bones, sharp eyesight, and feathers used for warmth or show. Over time, their limbs turned into wings, and their skeletons became lighter. But evolution didn't erase their ancestry. Birds still lay eggs. They still have claws, beaks, and even traces of dinosaur genes in their DNA. Every robin, every owl, every pigeon you pass is a dinosaur that learned to fly. Vestigial structures are evolution's notes in the margin. Throughout animal bodies, including ours, are features that no longer do their original job. These are vestigial structures, evolutionary leftovers that were once useful, but now remain in changed or reduced form. Human goosebumps are one example. They once helped our hairy ancestors fluff up their fur to stay warm or look bigger to predators. Today, they don't do much. The human appendix is also thought to be a remnant of a plant digesting organ used by distant herbivorous ancestors. Evolution rarely erases things cleanly. It modifies, repurposes, and sometimes forgets, leaving behind quiet clues to our past. Antibiotic resistance is evolution on fast forward. When bacteria meet antibiotics, most die, but sometimes a few survive because of random genetic changes. These survivors multiply fast, passing their resistance along. Within just weeks or months, an entire population can develop immunity to to a drug that once killed it. This is evolution happening not over millions of years, but in a single hospital or farm. It's a vivid example of natural selection in action. Traits that help survival spread through the group. Antibiotic resistance is a global health threat, but it's also a powerful real-time look at how relentless and flexible evolution can be. The platypus is a genetic time capsule. With a duck-like bill, fur, webbed feet, and the ability to lay eggs, the platypus seems almost too odd to be real. But every part of its body tells a story of evolutionary history. It makes milk like a mammal, but lays eggs like a reptile. It has electroreception, sensing electrical signals from prey underwater, a rare trait among mammals. Its genes are just as strange. The platypus has 10 sex chromosomes, some similar to those of birds. It's not a mix-up. It's a living snapshot of evolutionary branching, showing what happens when a lineage takes its own peculiar path through deep time. Jaw muscles may have opened space for bigger brains. In humans, a key gene that once built powerful jaw muscles, called MYH16, has a mutation that makes it inactive. Our ancient primate relatives had large chewing muscles and smaller skulls. But in early humans, the loss of this gene may have reduced the physical pressure on the skull, letting the brain case grow. Whether the mutation caused bigger brains or simply allowed them, it shows the subtle, unexpected trade-offs in evolution. Sometimes a gene breaks, and something remarkable grows in the space it leaves. Enamel genes show our fishy origins. Your teeth hold traces of your aquatic past. Hidden in the human genome are broken copies of genes that once made enamel across the body, not just on teeth, but on skin. In ancient fish, a hard enamel-like coating helped protect their whole exterior. Over evolutionary time, those genes were lost or repurposed as animals moved to land and developed internal skeletons. Today, enamel only appears on teeth, and the rest of the body is soft. But the ghost of that armor remains written in your DNA, like an evolutionary whisper from long before limbs ever touched dry ground. Tiktaalik was the fish that walked. Discovered in 2004, Tiktaalik is a 375 million year old fossil that bridges the gap between fish and four-legged land animals. It had gills and fins, but also lungs and wrist-like bones, structures able to support its body in shallow water or on muddy flats. With its flat head and flexible neck, it looked like a cross between a fish and a salamander. Tiktaalik isn't our direct ancestor, but it's part of the transitional puzzle that explains how life moved from water to land. Evolution doesn't leap. It builds one tiny change at a time until fins become feet and rivers give way to forests. Tasmanian wolves were dogs by another name. The extinct Tasmanian wolf, or thylacine, looked strikingly like a dog, pointed ears, striped back and all. But it wasn't even a placental mammal. It was a marsupial, closer to kangaroos than to wolves. On the isolated continent of Australia, it evolved a nearly identical skull shape, gait, and hunting style to true wolves through convergent evolution. despite being separated by over 100 million years. The needs of a meat-eating predator shaped both animals into the same form. Evolution often repeats itself, not exactly, but eerily close. Penguins gave up flight to rule the ocean. Penguins didn't forget how to fly. They traded it. Over millions of years, their wings shrank and stiffened, becoming perfect flippers for diving. Their bones got heavier, no longer hollow like flying birds. Their feathers packed into dense, waterproof layers. These changes gave them incredible agility underwater, where they fly through the sea like torpedoes. This shift came at a cost. They could no longer take to the skies. But evolution doesn't aim for perfection, only what works. In the freezing waters of the Southern Ocean, penguins are as finely tuned as any eagle in flight. Horses used to have toes. Modern horses stand on a single toe. Their strong hooves are enlarged middle toes, evolved for speed and endurance on open plains. But go back over 50 million years, and early horses like Eohippus had 4 toes on their front feet and 3 on their hind feet. These small, forest-dwelling creatures padded through thick undergrowth on soft, multi-toed feet. As grasslands spread and predators got faster, natural selection favored longer limbs and simpler, more efficient feet. Side toes shrank and disappeared. What remains today is a streamlined limb, descended from a once sprawling foot, an elegant balance between ancestry and environment. Moths can jam bat radar. Some tiger moths have evolved the ability to confuse their greatest predator, the bat. Using specialized organs called tymbals, these moths send out rapid ultrasonic clicks while flying. To human ears, it's silence, but to a hunting bat using echolocation, it's static, a sonic cloud that can blur the moth's outline or suggest a false location. This acoustic defense is a rare example of biological countermeasures, like sonar jamming in military tech. It's an evolutionary arms race played out in darkness. Every improvement in bat sonar is met with an upgrade in moth stealth. Seahorse dads carry the babies. In most of the animal kingdom, females carry the embryos, but not in seahorses. Here, the roles flip. The female puts her eggs into a pouch on the male's belly, where he fertilizes and protects them as they grow. The pouch supplies oxygen, nutrients, and even contractions during birth. This reversal of parental roles is rare among vertebrates, but in seahorses, it's normal. Evolution doesn't follow social rules. It responds to what works. In the tangled seagrass where seahorses live, this setup gives mothers more time to make eggs, while fathers guard the next generation. Naked mole rats don't feel pain the same way. Naked mole rats live underground in dark, crowded tunnels with high levels of carbon dioxide. Over time, they evolved to handle this environment in ways almost no other mammals can. One of the most unusual traits, they don't feel certain kinds of pain. Their nerve receptors don't respond to acid or capsaicin, the chemical that makes chili peppers burn. This insensitivity likely evolved as a side effect of adapting to their stuffy, acidic tunnels. In their strange world, pain pain signals would be constant and useless. So evolution turned them off. It's one of many oddities that make these wrinkled rodents evolutionary outliers. Elephants rotate their teeth forward. Unlike humans, who have one set of adult teeth that come up from below, elephants have a conveyor belt system. Their massive molars grow deep in their jaws and slowly move forward as older teeth wear down. Over a lifetime, they cycle through 6 sets of these grinding plates. Each new molar grows larger and tougher than the one before, able to chew bark, roots, and fibrous plants. Eventually, even the final pair wears out, and in the wild, this can determine an elephant's lifespan. It's a quiet example of how evolution shapes not just bodies, but the passage of time within them. Human skin color evolved many times. Skin color in humans is one of the clearest examples of evolution in action, and it didn't happen just once. Populations living in high UV environments evolved darker skin to protect against DNA damage and preserve folate, while those in low UV zones evolved lighter skin to absorb more sunlight for vitamin D. But this happened independently in different parts of the world. For example, dark-skinned populations in Africa and southern India are genetically distinct, and the light skin of Europeans and East Asians evolved through different genetic mutations. Human skin tone isn't a smooth gradient, it's a patchwork of local evolutionary solutions to sunlight. The pronghorn is too fast for its predators. North America's pronghorn antelope can run over 55 mph, far faster than any of its living predators. But the reason lies in the past. During the Ice Age, pronghorns shared the plains with now extinct American cheetahs, swift hunters that pushed prey to evolve greater speed. When those predators vanished, the pronghorn kept its running ability. It's now a species built for a race that no longer happens. Evolution leaves traces not just of what exists, but of what's gone, a kind of ecological ghost, written into bones, sinews, and astonishing bursts of speed. Your laryngeal nerve loops through your chest. In the human body, one of the nerves that controls your voice, the recurrent laryngeal nerve, takes an oddly long path. Instead of going straight from your brain to your voice box, it loops down into your chest and wraps around the aorta before coming back up. This detour is an evolutionary relic. In fish, the nerve took a short route around a nearby artery. As necks and chests grew longer in our tetrapod ancestors, the nerve stretched, but it never rerouted. Even in giraffes, the same nerve takes this absurd detour, stretching over 15 feet. Evolution doesn't rebuild from scratch. It remodels what's already there. Cacti and euphorbias are look-alikes without a common ancestor. Cacti in the Americas and euphorbias in Africa look strikingly similar, both with thick, ribbed stems, spines, and water-storing tissues. But they aren't closely related at all. Their similarity is the result of convergent evolution, different lineages arriving at the same adaptations in response to the same environmental pressures. Both plants needed to conserve water, deter herbivores, and survive intense sun. Evolution sculpted them into the same solution from completely different starting materials. If you didn't know better, you might think they were twins. But their resemblance is only skin deep. Color vision evolved in different ways. Humans see the world in rich color thanks to 3 types of cone cells in the eye. But we're not alone. Birds, butterflies, mantis shrimp, and some reptiles see even more colors, many extending into ultraviolet. What's fascinating is that color vision evolved independently across different animal groups. Insects and vertebrates don't use the same genes or even the same retinal pigments. They simply arrived at similar solutions. Some primates, color vision re-evolved after earlier ancestors had lost it. Evolution doesn't preserve traits unless they serve a purpose, but it's willing to reinvent them when the conditions are right. Crocodiles are living fossils, sort of. Crocodilians today look almost identical to their ancient ancestors from over 200 million years ago. This has earned them the nickname living fossils. But while their outer form hasn't changed much, their internal biology has continued to evolve. Crocodiles have incredibly efficient circulatory systems, capable of holding their breath for over an hour. Their hearts are uniquely adapted to diving. Their behaviors, including maternal care and vocal communication, are surprisingly advanced. Evolution doesn't always mean visible change. Sometimes stability itself is the adaptation, a sign that the ancient design still works in the modern world. Marsupials and placentals had a parallel evolution. Marsupials, animals like kangaroos, koalas, and wombats, evolved separately from placental mammals. Yet both groups ended up with remarkably similar forms. There are marsupial versions of moles, anteaters, mice, and even wolves. These mirror forms are another example of convergent evolution. On different continents, in isolated evolutionary theaters, similar ecological pressures produced similar shapes. It's not that one group copied the other. It's that the environment sculpted them the same way. Evolution doesn't care where a solution comes from, only that it works. Woodpeckers evolved natural shock absorbers. A woodpecker strikes wood with up to 1,000 times the force of gravity, yet its brain doesn't rattle. That's because it has evolved a suite of adaptations to absorb the impact. These include a thickened skull, a flexible beak tip, a spongy bone structure, and even a specialized hyoid bone that wraps around the skull like a safety harness. Its eyes also close milliseconds before impact to prevent retinal damage. None of this happened overnight. It took countless tiny steps over millions of years, each one preserving the birds that could peck a little harder and survive. Flatfish evolved asymmetrical faces. Flatfish like flounders and halibut begin life looking like ordinary fish, with one eye on each side of the head. But as they develop, one eye slowly migrates to join the other, and the fish begins to swim sideways along the seafloor. The adult body becomes entirely asymmetrical. This strange transformation is the result of a unique evolutionary path that allowed flatfish to blend perfectly into the ocean floor. Fossils show transitional forms with halfway shifted eyes, capturing the process mid-mutation. Evolution does not need to make symmetrical beauty. It only needs to make survival work. Koalas have fingerprints like ours. Koalas have fingerprints so detailed and human-like that even under a microscope, they can be hard to tell apart from ours. The ridged loops and whorls evolved independently, not from a common ancestor with primates, but as a result of convergent evolution. Fingerprints provide traction for gripping, especially on smooth bark, and may aid in tactile sensitivity. That means koalas, climbing quietly through eucalyptus trees, independently arrived at the same friction-enhancing feature that humans use for tool making. Nature often revisits its best ideas, even in unexpected places. Some butterflies have transparent wings. While most butterflies dazzle with vivid color, some have evolved nearly invisible wings. Species like the glasswing butterfly of Central America have scales that are spaced apart or absent, allowing light to pass through. The effect is astonishing. The wings become panes of living glass. This adaptation provides camouflage, making it harder for predators to spot them in flight. Transparency in land animals is rare, but in the dappled light of a rainforest, it's a powerful form of invisibility. Evolution didn't create these wings from scratch. It simply reduced the parts that reflected light, letting the world shine through. Mole rats evolved to live without oxygen. Naked mole rats are full of evolutionary surprises, but one of their strangest adaptations is their ability to survive without oxygen. In low oxygen environments, they switch their metabolism to use fructose instead of glucose, a trick normally seen only in plants. This shift helps keep their brain and heart functioning, even when oxygen levels drop to near zero. Most mammals would die within minutes under such conditions. But mole rats, shaped by millions of years in cramped, poorly ventilated tunnels, evolved a workaround. They are among the only mammals known to survive true anoxia by borrowing a strategy from the plant kingdom. Dogs can read human emotions better than chimps. Through thousands of years of domestication, dogs evolved the rare ability to read subtle human cues, including facial expressions, tone of voice, and even where we're pointing. Studies show dogs outperform chimpanzees in interpreting human social gestures, despite chimps being our closest relatives. This skill likely evolved through close partnership with humans. Early dogs that were better at anticipating human intentions may have been fed more, sheltered more, or trusted more. Over time, evolution favored emotional attunement. Your dog isn't just loyal, it's biologically wired to understand you. Octopuses can edit their own RNA. Unlike most animals, octopuses have the remarkable ability to edit their own RNA, the molecule that helps turn genetic instructions into proteins. This means they can fine-tune which proteins get made in real time, allowing flexible responses to their environment. It's not a permanent change to their DNA, but a temporary shift in how that DNA is expressed. This mechanism is rare and may come at a cost. Octopuses seem to sacrifice genetic mutation rates in exchange for greater short-term adaptability. In a constantly changing, information-rich world like the ocean, evolution gave them a flexible mind and a body to match. Birds see colors humans cannot imagine. Many birds have 4 types of color receptors in their eyes, compared to our 3, allowing them to see ultraviolet light and combinations of colors that lie beyond human perception. What looks like a plain brown sparrow to us might be a riot of UV reflecting patterns to another bird. This expanded vision plays a role in mate selection, navigation, and foraging. Feathers that appear dull to us can glow vividly under the right light. Evolution has tuned their eyes to see a richer world, one we cannot even fully describe. Some sea slugs can photosynthesize. The bright green sea slug Elysia chlorotica has evolved the ability to steal chloroplasts, the light harvesting parts of algae, and keep them functioning inside its own cells. This allows the slug to photosynthesize, using sunlight to make energy just like a plant. The slug even seems to have incorporated some algal genes into its own DNA, possibly through horizontal gene transfer. It's a stunning case of evolutionary theft, one kingdom borrowing tools from another. For a brief time, this animal lives as a solar-powered hybrid, blurring the line between plant and animal. Kiwi birds use their nostrils to sniff out food. Most birds locate food by sight, but kiwis, small, flightless birds native to New Zealand, have taken a different evolutionary path. Their nostrils are located at the very tip of their long beaks, allowing them to sniff out insects, worms, and roots buried in the soil. Their sense of smell is among the strongest of all birds, an unusual trait that evolved alongside their nocturnal, ground foraging lifestyle. While most birds rely on vision, kiwis use scent, an avian outlier shaped by isolation and the quiet demands of a forest floor. Marsupial moles and true moles are lookalikes without kinship. Marsupial moles native to Australia and placental moles found elsewhere in the world look remarkably alike. Both are small, blind, and covered in dense fur. Both dig complex tunnel systems and have claw-like forelimbs. But genetically, they are worlds apart. One is a marsupial, the other a placental mammal. Their similarities are the result of convergent evolution, not shared ancestry. Faced with the same subterranean lifestyle, evolution sculpted both animals into nearly identical forms, using entirely different starting materials. They are evolutionary echoes, two unrelated creatures shaped into the same answer. Some orchids trick insects by imitating their mates. Certain orchid species have evolved to mimic the appearance and scent of female insects, luring unsuspecting males into attempting to mate with the flower. During these failed mating attempts, pollen sticks to the insect and is carried to the next flower. This form of deception is so precise that it often involves the mimicry of specific insect species, down to exact shape, color, and even pheromones. It's not just camouflage, it's seduction. In the game of survival, evolution sometimes favors illusion over honesty, and these orchids have become master manipulators in the plant world. Spider silk evolved into multiple high-performance materials, Spiders produce a variety of silks, each with different properties: sticky, stretchy, strong, or fine. These silks come from separate glands, each evolved to serve a unique purpose: trapping prey, wrapping eggs, building webs, or creating drag lines for escape. The evolution of silk was not a single event, but a series of innovations over hundreds of millions of years. Some silk is tougher than steel by weight, while others rival Kevlar in elasticity. It's one of nature's most versatile biomaterials, shaped not by a single invention, but by evolutionary layering of specialized function. Electric fish evolved organs from muscle. In several groups of fish, electricity has evolved independently, from rays to eels to knifefish. These electric organs began as modified muscle cells, which no longer contract, but instead produce small electrical charges. By stacking these cells and aligning their outputs, the fish can create voltage. In weakly electric fish, the field is used for navigation and communication. In stronger species like the electric eel, it's a weapon. The same biological tool, muscle, was transformed again and again into something shocking. Evolution didn't invent electricity. It just borrowed muscle and rewired it. Bats are more closely related to whales than to mice. At first glance, a bat might seem like a close cousin to a mouse, small, furry, and nocturnal. But genetically, bats are more closely related to whales and humans than to rodents. All three belong to a group called Loraciotherium, a major lineage of placental mammals. This surprising relationship highlights the limits of visual similarity. Evolution shapes animals to fit their environments, not to reflect their ancestry. Wings and whiskers can mislead. It's only when we look at genes, not appearances, that we see the true shape of the evolutionary tree. Some frogs skip the tadpole stage entirely. While most frogs begin life as aquatic tadpoles, some species have evolved to bypass that stage completely. These frogs lay their eggs on land or in trees, and the embryos develop directly into tiny, fully formed froglets. In some cases, the young are even carried on the backs of their parents. This evolutionary shift eliminates the risky aquatic phase, protecting the young from predators and environmental fluctuations. It's a reminder that evolution doesn't just shape bodies, it reshapes life cycles. Even something as ancient as metamorphosis can be rewritten when the environment demands a better route. Axolotls stay juvenile their whole lives. The axolotl, a salamander native to Mexico, never undergoes full metamorphosis. Instead of transitioning into a land-dwelling adult, it retains its juvenile aquatic form into sexual maturity, a condition known as neoteny. It keeps its gills, flattened tail, and external fins, even while fully capable of reproducing. This evolutionary choice may have allowed the axolotl to thrive in a stable aquatic environment, avoiding the energy costs and risks of transformation. In a world where most amphibians are bound to metamorphosis, the axolotl took a different path, one that led to eternal youth. Pigeons can recognize themselves in a mirror. Mirror self-recognition is rare in the animal kingdom. and is often considered a test of higher cognition. Surprisingly, pigeons, often dismissed as simple, can pass this test when properly trained. They can recognize a colored mark on their own bodies, only visible in the reflection, and will try to remove it, showing they understand the image is of themselves. This suggests a level of self-awareness that evolved independently from primates, dolphins, or elephants. Evolution doesn't always place complexity where we expect it. Sometimes it hides it in the feathers of a city bird. Eyes use their fingers like tools. The eye, a nocturnal lemur from Madagascar, has evolved an unusually long, thin middle finger that it uses to tap on wood, listen for hollow spots, and extract grubs, a hunting method known as percussive foraging. This behavior is remarkably similar to how humans use tools. The eye's finger is supported by a ball and socket joint, giving it a wide range of motion. Its ears are highly adapted to detect the sound of insect movement. This evolutionary niche, part bat, part woodpecker, part primate, shows how specialized anatomy and behavior can converge into a single elegant solution. Gibbons swing with ball and socket wrists. Gibbons are the only primates that use brachiation, arm over arm swinging, as their main form of locomotion. To do this efficiently, they evolved unique wrist joints with a ball and socket structure, much like a shoulder. This allows the wrist to rotate freely, reducing strain and increasing speed. Combined with long fingers, strong shoulders, and light frames, gibbons can swing across gaps of over 30 feet. It's an acrobatic marvel, evolved not for show, but for survival in the treetop canopy. Evolution didn't invent new parts. It fine-tuned what was already there for graceful flight through the forest. Sloths digest their food at a glacial pace. Sloths have one of the slowest digestive systems in the animal kingdom. Their leafy diet is low in nutrients, and their metabolism is extraordinarily slow. It can take a sloth over 2 weeks to fully digest a single meal. To support this, they have multi-chambered stomachs filled with specialized microbes that break down tough plant fibers. Their sluggish movement, low body temperature, and minimal caloric needs are all part of the same evolutionary strategy. Do less, spend less, and avoid predators by becoming nearly invisible. In the rainforest canopy, patience is not just a virtue, it's a survival tactic. Some barnacles live inside whale skin. Barnacles are best known for clinging to rocks or ship hulls, but some have taken their parasitic lifestyle further. Certain species have evolved to burrow into the thick skin of whales, embedding themselves in living tissue. There, they feed by filtering plankton as their massive hosts swim through the ocean. This intimate relationship is so specialized that some barnacle species are found only on specific types of whales. It's a testament to how evolution can shape entire life cycles around a mobile, living environment, turning a migratory mammal into a floating reef. Vampire bats evolved heat-sensing noses. Vampire bats, which feed on the blood of mammals and birds, have evolved an extraordinary adaptation: specialized heat sensors on their noses that allow them to detect the warm flow of blood beneath skin. These sensors are highly sensitive, capable of locating veins with pinpoint accuracy in total darkness. The underlying mechanism is similar to that found in some snakes, but it evolved independently. The bat's razor-sharp teeth and anticoagulant-laced saliva are only part of the story. The real innovation is the ability to see blood through heat. Evolution, in this case, turned touch into thermal vision. The platypus has 10 sex chromosomes. Most mammals, including humans, have 2 sex chromosomes, X and Y. But the platypus, ever the evolutionary outlier, has 10 5XS and 5Ys in males. These form a chain during reproduction, passing on combinations that scientists are still working to understand. Intriguingly, some of these chromosomes share features with birds, suggesting a link to a more ancient genetic system. This complex arrangement is one of many quirks that make the platypus a living mosaic of evolutionary history, part mammal, part reptile, part mystery. Some ferns haven't changed in over 180 million years. In fossil beds dating back to the Jurassic period, scientists have found fern fronds that are virtually identical to those growing today. These plants, sometimes called living fossils, have survived mass extinctions, climate shifts, and the rise and fall of entire ecosystems with barely a structural change. Their secret lies in resilience. Ferns reproduce with spores, can grow in diverse habitats, and tolerate poor soil. In evolutionary terms, they found a winning formula early and never needed to change much. In forests around the world, ancient green fronds still uncurl exactly as they did beneath the feet of dinosaurs. Jellyfish evolved stingers independently. Jellyfish belong to one of the oldest animal lineages on Earth, and their defining feature, the stinging cell, is unlike anything else in biology. These cells, called cnidocytes, contain tiny harpoons that fire on contact, injecting venom with lightning speed. They evolved independently of any other kind of weapon in the animal kingdom. Even more fascinating, jellyfish have no brain or central nervous system. Their bodies are simple, yet their stinging mechanism is incredibly complex. Evolution shaped them not for thinking, but for surviving a floating system of reflexes and tentacles, drifting through 500 million years. Seahorses evolved monogamy in a world of fish. In the vast, fluid world of ocean life, lifelong pair bonds are rare, but seahorses are an exception. Many species form monogamous partnerships, greeting each other with daily rituals and even linking tails as they swim. This behavior is tied to their unique reproductive system, where males carry developing embryos in a pouch. Evolution seems to have favored stable partnerships in these slow-swimming creatures, making mate location and fertilization more reliable. In a sea of competition, the seahorse took a different path, one of bonding, shared investment, and a gentle kind of fidelity. Some ants evolved to explode. In the rainforests of Southeast Asia, certain species of Campanatus ants have evolved a dramatic last resort self-destruction. When threatened, they contract abdominal muscles so powerfully that their bodies rupture, releasing sticky, toxic chemicals that immobilize attackers. This suicidal defense protects the colony at the cost of the individual, a stark example of how natural selection can favor self-sacrifice in social animals. It's not bravery in the human sense, but biology repurposed for cooperation. Evolution, in this case, shaped the body into a weapon not for hunting, but for defending others. Lungfish can survive years without water. Lungfish are ancient air-breathing fish that evolved the ability to endure extreme drought. When their freshwater habitats dry up, they burrow into the mud and secrete a mucus cocoon, entering a state of suspended animation called estivation. Their metabolism slows dramatically, and they can survive in this state for months, even years, until rains return. This adaptation evolved over millions of years in regions with unpredictable wet and dry seasons. It's a living snapshot of evolutionary flexibility, blurring the line between fish and amphibian, between motion and stasis, between life and waiting. Parrots evolved vocal learning like humans. Parrots are among the few non-human animals capable of true vocal learning, the ability to mimic complex sounds and develop dialects. Unlike instinctive calls, learned vocalizations require imitation, memory, and social context. This capacity evolved independently of human language, using entirely different neural circuits. Yet the outcome is strikingly similar, a flexible, dynamic way of communicating. Some wild parrots have even been observed using regional accents, and captive birds can mimic household sounds with eerie precision. Evolution in parrots unlocked something surprisingly close to culture, passed not by genes, but by voice. Anglerfish use bacteria to make light. In the pitch-black depths of the ocean, female anglerfish carry a luminous lure just above their mouths, used to attract prey. But the light doesn't come from their own bodies. It's produced by symbiotic bacteria housed in a special organ. These microbes evolved to live nowhere else, and the anglerfish evolved to feed and protect them. In return, the bacteria glow, using a chemical process called bioluminescence. It's a relationship shaped by deep time and total darkness, evolution, building partnerships between organisms to create light where there is none. Giraffes have blood pressure twice as high as ours. To pump blood all the way to their towering heads, giraffes have evolved a cardiovascular system unlike any other. Their hearts are massive and powerful, capable of generating blood pressure over twice that of a human. Their arteries are thick and muscular, and special valves prevent backflow when they lower or raise their heads. Without these adaptations, the simple act of drinking water could cause brain damage. Evolution sculpted their bodies to accommodate this biological challenge, not just in the neck bones we see, but in the unseen rhythms of their hearts. Camels have oval red blood cells. Camels are famous for their humps, but one of their most remarkable adaptations is hidden in their bloodstream. Unlike the round red blood cells found in most mammals, camels have oval-shaped ones. This allows their blood to flow smoothly even when extremely dehydrated, as the cells are more flexible and less likely to clump together. They can lose up to 25% of their body's water, a level fatal to most animals, and still recover quickly when water returns. Evolution shaped their blood not just for survival, but for endurance in one of the harshest environments on Earth. Tree shrews can tolerate alcohol better than humans. In the forests of Southeast Asia, wild tree shrews regularly consume fermented nectar from the burtam palm, a drink with alcohol levels similar to beer. Yet, they show no signs of intoxication. Genetic studies reveal that tree shrews have evolved highly efficient alcohol metabolizing enzymes, allowing them to process ethanol without the behavioral effects seen in most mammals. It's thought that this trait helped them take advantage of a food source others avoided. Evolution, once again, found a way to turn risk into opportunity and shaped a species that can sip without stumbling. The tuatara has a third eye beneath its skin. The tuatara, a reptile native to New Zealand, is the sole survivor of a lineage that split from other reptiles over 200 million years ago. Among its many ancient features is a third eye, a light, sensitive organ buried beneath the skin on the top of its head. Though it doesn't form images, this parietal eye detects changes in light and may help regulate circadian rhythms or seasonal behavior. It's most visible in juveniles, fading as the tuatara matures. Evolution didn't erase this primitive feature. It simply tucked it beneath the surface, where it still quietly watches the sky. Wombats poop in cubes. Australian wombats are the only known animals that produce cube-shaped feces. This strange adaptation allows the poop to stack neatly, preventing it from rolling away, a useful trait for marking territory in the hilly terrain they inhabit. The cube shape isn't formed by a square-shaped anus, but by varying elasticity in different parts of the intestine. As the feces dry and compress, muscular contractions shape them into distinct edges. It's an example of how even the most mundane traits can be molded by evolutionary pressures, and how geometry can arise from gut biology. Some spiders evolved to mimic ants. In the insect world, ants are feared and respected for their strength and organization. Some spiders have evolved to exploit that reputation by mimicking ants almost perfectly. They narrow their waists, wave their front legs like antennae, and adopt jerky, ant-like movements. This disguise can help them avoid predators or sneak into ant colonies unnoticed. It's not just visual mimicry, it's behavioral. Evolution shaped their bodies and habits to copy another species entirely. It's a quiet form of camouflage, built not from invisibility, but from imitation. Peacock tails are a product of sexual selection. The elaborate tail of the peacock is a puzzle. It's huge, colorful, and makes flight more difficult. Why would evolution favor such a burden? The answer lies in sexual selection, a process where traits that improve mating success are favored, even if they reduce survival. Peahens prefer males with the largest, most symmetrical tails. Over time, this preference drove the evolution of extravagance. The tail is a signal, a costly, honest display of health and genetic fitness. It may seem impractical, but in the evolutionary marketplace of attraction, beauty can be worth the price. Chickens still carry genes for dinosaurs. Chickens still carry genes for teeth. Modern birds don't have teeth, they have beaks. But hidden in the genome of a chicken are the dormant genes that once built teeth in their dinosaur ancestors. Scientists have even managed to activate these genes in the lab, causing embryonic chickens to start forming tooth-like structures. Evolution didn't delete the instructions, it just turned them off. The blueprint for teeth remains, quietly archived in the DNA, a genetic memory of a time when birds had jaws full of enamel. It's a reminder that evolution builds on what came before, even when it seems to start fresh. Hummingbirds have the highest metabolism of any vertebrate. Hummingbirds live life at an astonishing speed. Their hearts can beat over 1,200 times per minute during flight, and their metabolism is so fast that they must eat nearly their own body weight in nectar every day. To survive cold nights, they enter a state called torpor, where their heart rate and body temperature drop dramatically to conserve energy. Without this evolutionary trick, they would starve before morning. Their wings beat up to 80 times per second, allowing them to hover and even fly backward. Evolution built them not just for speed, but for precision, tiny, jeweled masters of motion and energy. Some fish can change their sex. In coral reefs, many species of fish have evolved the ability to change sex during their lifetimes. Clownfish, for example, live in groups with one dominant female. If she dies, the largest male transforms into a female and takes her place. This flexibility is called sequential hermaphroditism, and it allows populations to adapt quickly to changing social structures. Evolution gave these fish a remarkable form of insurance. If one role becomes vacant, another individual can step in. It's a fluid approach to reproduction, shaped by the unpredictable rhythms of reef life. The human brain is still evolving. Evolution didn't stop when humans developed cities and civilizations. Recent studies show that genes related to brain size, immune response, and even lactose digestion have changed significantly in just the last few thousand years. Some populations have evolved resistance to diseases like malaria, while others have adapted to high-altitude living or new diets. The human brain itself shows signs of ongoing change, with variations in genes linked to cognitive function appearing in different populations. We are not the finished product. We are still being shaped, slowly and quietly, by the forces of natural selection. Tardigrades can survive in space. Tardigrades, also known as water bears, are microscopic animals capable of surviving extreme conditions that would kill almost any other organism. They can endure radiation, boiling heat, freezing cold, crushing pressure, and even the vacuum of space. When conditions become harsh, they enter a state called cryptobiosis, expelling nearly all water from their bodies and shutting down their metabolism. In this suspended state, they can survive for decades. Evolution gave them the ultimate survival toolkit, not by making them strong, but by making them nearly indestructible through dormancy. Mantis shrimp have the most complex eyes in the animal kingdom. Mantis shrimp possess vision so advanced it puts human eyesight to shame. They have 16 types of color receptors compared to our 3, allowing them to see polarized light, ultraviolet, and even circular polarized light, a spectrum we can't begin to imagine. Their eyes move independently and process visual information faster than almost any other animal. This extraordinary vision helps them hunt, navigate, and communicate in the complex, colorful world of coral reefs. Evolution didn't just give them sight, it gave them a window into dimensions of light we'll never see. Some wasps turn spiders into zombies. Certain parasitic wasps have evolved one of the most sinister strategies in nature. They lay their eggs inside a spider's body, and as the larva develops, it secretes chemicals that take control of the spider's behavior. The infected spider abandons its normal web and builds a specialized structure designed to protect the developing wasp. Once the web is complete, the larva kills the spider and uses the web as a cocoon. It's a chilling example of how evolution can create manipulation at the neurological level, turning one creature into a puppet for another's survival. Crows can hold grudges and recognize faces. Crows are among the most intelligent birds on the planet, capable of recognizing individual human faces and remembering them for years. Studies have shown that crows can pass on information about dangerous humans to other crows, creating a shared cultural memory. If a crow perceives you as a threat, it may scold you, dive bomb you, or recruit others to join the harassment. This ability evolved as part of their complex social structure, where memory and communication increase survival. Evolution gave them not just intelligence, but something resembling culture, knowledge passed from bird to bird, generation to generation. Some plants evolved to mimic stones. In the deserts of southern Africa, a group of succulents known as lithops have evolved to look almost exactly like pebbles. Their rounded, mottled surfaces blend seamlessly into rocky ground, making them nearly invisible to herbivores. Only when they bloom do they reveal themselves as living plants. This camouflage is so effective that botanists sometimes struggle to find them in the wild. Evolution didn't give these plants thorns or toxins, it gave them anonymity. In a harsh landscape where being eaten means death, the best defense is to disappear entirely. Bombardier beetles spray boiling chemicals. The bombardier beetle has evolved one of nature's most impressive chemical weapons. When threatened, it mixes two chemicals stored in separate chambers inside its abdomen. The resulting reaction produces a boiling, toxic spray that can reach temperatures of 100 degrees C, 212 degrees F. The beetle can aim this spray with remarkable accuracy, rotating the tip of its abdomen like a turret. This defense system evolved through incremental steps. Each small improvement in chemical production, storage, or delivery increased survival. It's a vivid example of how complexity can arise gradually, one adaptation at a time. Cats evolved to be partially domesticated. Unlike dogs, which have been fully domesticated for thousands of years, cats retain much of their wild behavior. Genetic studies suggest that cats domesticated themselves by adapting to human environments, hunting rodents near grain stores. Humans tolerated them because they were useful, and over time, the cats that were less fearful of people thrived. But evolution didn't reshape them as drastically as it did dogs. Cats remain semi-independent hunters, only partially molded by human influence. They chose us as much as we chose them, and in many ways, they're still wild at heart. The smell of rain is caused by bacteria. That fresh, earthy scent that follows a rainstorm, known as petrichor, comes partly from compounds released by soil-dwelling bacteria. These microbes produce a chemical called geosmin when they die or reproduce, and rain helps release it into the air. Humans are incredibly sensitive to geosmin. We can detect it at concentrations as low as 5 parts per trillion. Some scientists believe this sensitivity evolved because rain often signaled the presence of water in our ancestors' arid environments. Evolution tuned our noses not just to smell the rain, but to recognize what it meant: life, growth, and survival. Some snakes evolved infrared vision. Pit vipers, pythons, and boas have evolved specialized organs that allow them to see heat. Located in pits near their nostrils, these sensors detect infrared radiation emitted by warm-blooded prey. This gives them a thermal image of their surroundings, even in total darkness. The system is so sensitive that it can detect temperature changes as small as a fraction of a degree. Evolution didn't give these snakes better eyes. It gave them an entirely new sense, one that turns body heat into a hunting advantage in the shadowy world they inhabit. Monarch butterflies migrate across generations. Every year, millions of monarch butterflies migrate thousands of miles from North America to central Mexico. But no single butterfly makes the entire journey. The migration spans multiple generations. Some butterflies live only a few weeks, while the generation that makes the long flight south can live for months. Somehow, butterflies that have never made the trip before know exactly where to go. This knowledge is encoded not in memory, but in their biology. Evolution built the map into their genes, passed down silently through wings and instinct. Humans lost the ability to make vitamin C. Most mammals can produce their own vitamin C, but humans, along with a few other primates, guinea pigs, and bats, cannot. We lost this ability millions of years ago when a key gene mutated and stopped functioning. Because our ancestors had plenty of vitamin C in their fruit-rich diets, the loss didn't harm survival, so the broken gene persisted. Today, we must get vitamin C from food or supplements. It's a quiet evolutionary trade-off. We didn't need the gene anymore, so evolution let it break. And in that small genetic error, scurvy was born. Leafcutter ants farm fungus. Leafcutter ants don't eat the leaves they harvest. Instead, they carry them back to their nests and use them to cultivate fungus, which they then consume. This agricultural system has been evolving for over 50 million years. The ants tend their fungal gardens carefully, removing contaminants, and even using antibiotic-producing bacteria to protect their crops from disease. It's one of the most sophisticated examples of agriculture in the animal kingdom, and it evolved long before humans ever planted a seed. The ants and the fungus co-evolved together, each shaping the other's survival. Rats laugh when tickled. When rats play or are tickled by researchers, they emit high-frequency vocalizations that resemble laughter. These sounds are tied to positive emotions and social bonding. Rats that laugh more tend to seek out play and interaction, suggesting that this behavior evolved as part of their social structure. It's not laughter in the human sense, but it serves a similar purpose: communication, connection, and joy. Evolution gave rats a way to express happiness, hidden in frequencies we can't hear without special equipment. But it's there, a tiny giggle in the ultrasonic dark. Viruses drove the evolution of the mammalian placenta, one of the most remarkable discoveries in evolutionary biology is that a key component of the mammalian placenta, the organ that nourishes developing embryos, originated from a viral infection. Millions of years ago, a retrovirus inserted its genetic material into the genome of an ancestor of modern mammals. One of its genes, which helps viruses fuse with host cells, was repurposed to allow the placenta to fuse with the uterine wall. Without that ancient infection, live birth as we know it might never have evolved. A virus, once a threat, became a tool and shaped the future of an entire class of animals. Foxes were domesticated in just 60 years. In the 1950s, Soviet scientist Dmitry Belyaev began an experiment to domesticate wild foxes by selectively breeding only the tamest individuals. Within just a few generations, the foxes began to show physical changes: floppy ears, curled tails, and spotted coats. Their behavior changed too, becoming playful and affectionate like dogs. This experiment showed that domestication isn't just about training, it's about evolution. By selecting for one trait, tameness, other traits came along for the ride. In less than a human lifetime, wild animals became pets. Evolution, when guided, can move faster than we ever imagined. And so, as the night deepens and your breathing slows, remember this: evolution is not a distant process confined to textbooks and fossils. It is here, now, written into every cell of your body, in the bacteria that help you digest food, in the tailbone at the base of your spine, in the way your eyes see color and your hands grip tools. You are not separate from the story of life. You are part of it, a living chapter in a book that began billions of years ago and continues quietly with every breath you take. Rest now. Let the weight of deep time hold you. You are ancient. You are new. You are connected to everything that has ever lived. And that is a beautiful place to fall asleep. Good night, from Mr. Sleepy Science.